It feels so surreal making this video, but we're finally here. I'm gonna be discussing the details of my top surgery, what surgeon I'm going to, the conversation that I had very in-depth, in detail in terms of my scar placement, nipple placement, all of that. Before I lay out all that information and get into the nitty gritty, make sure if you're new here, new as in not subscribed, you go ahead and press that subscribe button down below to support me. If you are interested in coaching, go ahead and email me at devindoescoaching@gmail.com. Of course, why are we here? To talk about my top surgery. Anything you can donate will help because I don't have insurance and the procedure is obviously expensive. The link for that will be in the description down below as well. Let me stop holding you up. Let's go ahead and get into the video. The first thing that we're going to discuss is what doctor I'm going to. So I'm going to be going to Dr. Russell Sassani at Take Shape Plastic Surgery. I believe that's what it's called, in Plantation, Florida. For y'all that don't know, I'm located in South Florida, so that's extremely local to me. He's about 30 minutes out, which is perfect. Originally, I was going to go to Garamoni. For myself, I believe he would have been around 14K, and that's just simply outrageous. My doctor is going to be around 8.7K after all the fees and everything, and then obviously from there, you have to pay for scar care. So it does end up being a very fucking expensive procedure, especially if you don't have insurance. But Garamoni is just getting extremely expensive, and honestly, for what I'm looking for how I've built my chest, he was not the best decision for me. If you do go back and watch my other top surgery video, why I couldn't get keyhole, I said I wanted to go to Medali, but when I compared Medali's results to Dr. Sassani's results, they're pretty equivalent. So there's no reason for me to have to wait 4 more months, and then on top of that, have to travel to Cleveland. Like I said, Dr. Sassani is a local. Let's get into the conversation that I had with Dr. Sassani and ultimately why I went with him, because there are a lot of factors that went into it. I would never just say, oh, I have such bad dysphoria, I'm going with any fucking doctor, fuck it, you know, I just need to get these chesticles off my chest. Like, no, I never allowed myself once to feel overly emotional in making any decisions. I had a whole list out as well as pictures of what I was looking for, and I was really paying attention to if he was being comprehensive and absorbing the information I was giving him. And I also had my girlfriend there sort of reading the room, making sure that I was being listened to and making sure that he was, you know, basically understanding what I was saying. The big points that we hit, and it was important for me to hit: scar placement in reference to my pec development, nipple placement. What else did we discuss? Obviously, with me having already extremely developed pecs, it was very important for me to not have scars and incisions in the middle of my chest. I made sure that I really relayed the message to him that I would like for my incisions to be placed underneath the pec. Okay, so this is literally what I did with him: shirt off, tape off, everything. I said I need the incision placed underneath the pec so that as my chest continues to develop, the pec can fall over the scar and the scar becomes essentially camouflaged underneath the pec. Okay, obviously with great scar care, it will begin to fade away with time, but that was very major for me, and that was the main point that we had to drive home, that we had to make sure we were on the same page about, because I am not playing around when it comes to that. Another aspect of scar placement was I found it very important to tell him that I do not just want the scars placed in the middle of my chest like that whatsoever. I made it very clear to him that I want the scar to be placed right where the fat begins. So I'll throw up a picture of my chest over here. You can see that I don't have a lot of fat in the middle of my chest. The fat is more so to the side. So I made it very clear that I want him to begin the incision line at the side where the fat begins. Okay, obviously it's very important that I don't have incision where there doesn't need to be any incision. It needs to be where the fat begins so that there's as minimal scarring as possible. The next aspect that we discussed very in depth was nipple placement. My nipples are a little bit more away from the midline of my body. They're kind of pointed outwards like a hammerhead shark. So it's important that he brings those nipples a little bit in, not towards the exact center of my chest, obviously, but a little bit closer to the midline of my chest, because right now they're pointed opposite, which would just be crazy looking. Okay, so the other aspect of this was nipple sizing. I made it very clear that I do not want little dots, little specks for nipples. I'd like to keep as much surface area as possible of my nipple so that I still have, you know, you could see a nipple. Like, I want to have a nipple. I've never really minded my nipples. I like to have nipples. I do have somewhat long areolas, so like he said, we're gonna go ahead and take a little bit off the top, for lack of a better term, assuming that I do get the blood back to my nipples. I don't want to be cold and then my nipples are sticking to my shirt, because that'd just be crazy. So obviously enough to replicate a cis man's nipples. Okay, that was the whole nipple debacle. So he did mention, oh well, if you don't like the scars, you can just get tattoos. And I find this kind of important to tell you guys, when you're speaking to your doctor about your scars and you're going in depth with all this information, this is what I feel like like is important to say. Do not say anything like, oh, if I don't like the scars, I can just get tattoos. No, the doctor does not need to know that you're just gonna cover up their work. They need to feel like their work is gonna be front and center. You want to have the best scars as possible. You do not want to cover up the scars because you want them to be as clean and as perfect as possible. Fuck a tattoo, because honestly, I'm going for the most natural aesthetic and I don't want to tattoo my chest. I don't even really care for these tattoos, but I might just fill in my forearm just to have it done. But I definitely do not want to tattoo my chest. Do not ever tell your surgeon something like, I can just tattoo over the scars if I don't want it. Another thing that I did want to touch on is the fact that he said I do not need lipo or minimal lipo, because honestly, my chest is mostly, what I do have is mostly glands. It's not really fat. It's not really subcutaneous fat. My chest is obviously extremely lean, so he would really only have to remove the glands, which is something that helped in keeping the price on the lower end in respect to pricing. I feel like a big thing is talking to your doctor, making sure that they understand your vision, making sure that they're able to work with you, and you're not just walking in there and being like, oh, I want top surgery, and they're like, okay, here's how much it costs and here's your date. Like, no, I feel like it should be a team effort, and I'm definitely proud of myself that I did wait this long and that I have such developed pecs, because I don't feel like I would have had such autonomy to sort of guide him in the direction if I didn't build my body so much. And I don't know if he would have arrived to that conclusion by himself anyway, but I definitely feel 10 times better. My cat is eating. 10 times better with the fact that he was able to see that I know what the fuck I want, because undoubtedly that will affect, you know, the job that he does. Last but not least, I sort of saved the best for last. My top surgery is going to be on November 29th, so I did get it in before the end of the year. It was a big goal of mine in 2022 to be able to wear Under Armour, a tight Under Armour shirt, and honestly, guys, it looks like I'm going to be able to accomplish that, so I'm just kind of, it doesn't feel very real yet, but I'm very happy that I made this adult decision, that I didn't let my emotions control me. I'm so confident in him that he's gonna do his absolute best job. Like I said, if you did want to donate, I would be beyond fucking thankful, because this shit be expensive. Like I always say, Devin loves you, Devin's a Don, and Devin is out of here, boy.